As millions of Californians flee our state, the liberal Los Angeles Times is trying to shift the blame to Republicans, even though the Democrats control every level of government in our state. Coming up, I respond to the absurd effort by the LA Times to blame Republicans, but I will agree with them on one point they made. Coming up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and the LA Times at least is acknowledging that California has some major problems. They've been spending the past 20 years saying everything was fine and dandy, and that the deep blue woke political culture that dominates state politics was absolutely wonderful. The Green New Deal would be wonderful. The far left social agendas would be wonderful. Higher taxes, yes, more mandates, more regulations. All of that was so wonderful. But now, with Californians fleeing our state in record numbers, with the highest cost of living we've ever seen, with the highest numbers of homelessness, with a crime wave, with failing schools, the LA Times is now saying, yeah, there are problems, but don't blame the Democrats and the far left philosophy that's been governing our state for the past 20 years. No. Blame California Republicans. Yeah, I know. I mean, and there's a lot of idiots out there that will actually buy this nonsense. Blame the Republicans. Just like Gavin Newsom and Democrats have been blaming Republicans and blaming big oil and big corporations for all the problems, blaming climate change for everything that's happening. No. Now the LA Times is realizing that voters are about to hand the Democrats in California a major shellacking in the November election. And they're working overtime to perpetuate and advance a false narrative that it's somehow the Republicans' fault. Here is the column that I am talking about. And there's actually one point being made in this column that I actually agree with. I agree with it wholeheartedly. And I'll get to that in just a minute. But here is the column. LA Times, Breitbart summarizes it. I don't pay for a subscription to the LA Times because I don't want to fund left-wing journalism, and you shouldn't either. But LA Times columnist blames Republicans for California's problems. The asshat who wrote the column is Steve Lopez. Can't find his rear end with a search party and a map. He basically ran a column this weekend saying that while Democrats deserve to be on the hot seat, whatever that means, Lopez says that California Republicans are actually the ones to blame because they enacted some of the worst policies that are hurting Californians now. Oh, what are the policies? Did Republicans impose all these new costly mandates and raise taxes? No, those would be the Democrats. So that's the cost of living crisis we're facing. Did Republicans impose the housing first failed model for homelessness that says we can't enforce laws against disorderly conduct and public encampments and drug abuse? No, those would be the Democrats. Housing First says we can't actually enforce clean, sane, and sober living, which is the most important element to breaking the cycle of homelessness. Did Republicans embrace open border policies like sanctuary state and dangling free welfare to people coming in illegally? No. How about the schools? Did the Republicans embrace the controversial curriculum and political agendas in the classroom while watering down academic standards? No. How about the crime wave? Prop 47, Prop 57, early release of prisoners, smearing police officers. Nope, that's all Democrats. So what does he come up with in terms of the rationale that Republicans are to blame? Well, he says first that on homelessness, Reagan released people from mental hospitals. Okay. You do realize that everyone who Reagan released back in the 1960s from a mental hospital is long since dead. You do realize that, right? They're not out there on the streets. And of course, what he does not say is that states across the country are actually doing a good job with homelessness. Homelessness has gone down 22%. And they have similar policies to what Governor Reagan had implemented, 60 years ago, 55 years ago. This guy's a liar. Just comes out and says, oh, Reagan, let's blame Reagan for homelessness. That's right. All those people on the street, they're from Ronald Reagan as governor. From 60 years ago. Absolute insanity. Next, he says the crime is caused by guns. That if we just had more gun control. Well, hold on a second. California has the strictest gun control laws in the nation, and yet has a crime wave that's worse in the nation. The worst crime wave in the nation, even though we've got the strictest gun control laws. You're just saying, the Republicans don't want to give up on guns. The reality is you can trace California's crime wave, despite gun control, to eliminating the ability of police officers and prosecutors to arrest and prosecute criminals, Prop 47, and allowing Prop 57 to provide for the early release of violent criminals from prison. And the fact that we have a shortage of police officers because Democrat politicians have disparaged the profession of policing and shifted the entire liability standards so that police officers now need to worry about use of force. They are subjected to a use of force standard that no other state subjects them to, which is it has to be proven to be absolutely necessary rather than reasonable based on training and the situation the police officer encountered. That's why a lot of police officers are fleeing. They're not appreciated, and they're putting police officers in harm's way legally and physically. But this liar, this dishonest columnist, tries to prop up a false narrative that somehow, if Republicans would just allow for more gun control, what influence right now do Republicans have in preventing gun control? Every gun control law that's been proposed by the Democrats has been enacted by the legislature. They didn't need Republican votes to do this. They got it enacted. And then the U.S. Supreme Court came along and said, nope, it's unconstitutional. It's illegal. California Republicans voting against gun control in California had no impact on the gun control laws that have been proposed by Democrats. So come again, Steve Lopez. You got to do better with your lies than propping up this pile of dung. Then he goes on to say something about Latinos. He says, the GOP alienated Latinos with their tough on the border position in the 1990s. Again, that snake oil, that false narrative, untrue. Latinos, by a supermajority margin in the latest polling, are in support of more border security, not less, and are in support of cutting back on the welfare for illegals. Now, there is one element of this op-ed that I actually will agree with. But this element was kind of buried in his story, his column, because he went on to talk about all these policies that Republicans are to be blamed for, again, which have nothing to do with the problems we face with cost of living. It's the high taxes mandates, the Green New Deal, Greeny New Steel for the Democrats, homelessness, which is housing first, which is a Democrat failed idea, the crime wave, which is Prop 47, Prop 57, and disparaging police, which again, all came from the Democrats, our failing schools. Again, the worst schools are Democrat-run school boards. Every damn issue Democrats are responsible for in the state of California. Every problem. The one thing that Lopez got right is something I've actually been talking about for years. As much as I blame the Democrats for their bad policies, I must blame California's rhino Republicans and the corrupt, inept, cowardly party officials at the Sacramento-based California Republican State Party. I have to blame them for abandoning principle and not having the will to fight or the ability to fight. I do blame Republicans for not being an effective opposition voice and an effective opposition movement. That's what Reform California exists to correct. I started Reform California years ago when I saw that the California Republican Party and establishment Republicans just simply did not have the commitment, the integrity, or the ability, or the willingness to fight. And Reform California is a grassroots movement designed to lead the fight where the establishment politicians refuse to do so. We lay out a bold platform of reform. We are generating the ideas of opposition in California. We are recruiting candidates who are tough as steel and training them and putting them on the ballot and actually winning with these candidates in target seats. We have been out there educating swing voters, particularly Latinos, independent voters, even conservative Democrats, as to the error of the ways of the Democrats in California and why they should try voting for an alternative. We've been out there fighting for election integrity and doing ballot harvesting with conservative voters to boost our turnout, to get out the vote. We've been out there with our plain English voter guide to expose where the tax hikes are hidden on the ballot and what really is being done by these crazy ballot proposals that Democrats have put on the ballot with false and misleading ballot titles. We're recruiting volunteers and raising the grassroots funds, small dollar funds, to make conservatives more competitive in target seats. So yes, I agree with Lopez on one simple point. And that is the Republican Party of California has not been effective, and we need to make it far more effective. We can't wait for them to get that message and change the error of their ways. We need to basically lead this movement without their help, without their involvement. They'll catch up sooner or later, or we'll just replace them. But Lopez slides that in there because that's an obvious thing that everyone would agree with, that the Republican Party is a dumpster fire of ineptitude and incompetence and lack of integrity. We all can agree on that. The grassroots can agree on that. But he then surrounds it and packages the whole thing in, well, they're not very effective, but their policies are to blame anyway. Well, you can't have it both ways, Steve. You can't say that they need to be more effective, which I agree with. But if they were in office, then they would be enacting policies that actually cause the problem. Again, that's where we part ways. That's where I expose you for the liar that you are, the enabler that you are. You're doing everything to defend Republicans. And this is the big scam. We saw it last week when Gavin Newsom blamed oil and gas companies for the price spikes that we see at the pump. Again, the same guy that enacted the highest gas tax in the nation, the same guy that's been the champion of the costly and dysfunctional Green New Deal. He's the one responsible for our high gas prices, our high electricity rates. And yet what does he do? He says, oh, it's the oil and gas companies. Price gouging. Only in California. They're not price gouging across the country, but only in California, which is why California pays double per kilowatt hour for electricity and $2.50 more per gallon of gas. Oh, the utility companies and oil companies don't price gouge across the country, but they do so in California. Are we to buy that horse crap? No, it's you, Mr. Governor. Your bad policies. But Lopez knows this. And so he's taking a page from Newsom, his little foot soldier on the LA Times editorial board. Oh, I got your talking points, Mr. Governor. I'll help spread the lie. It's not our Democrats that are responsible in California. Don't vote against the Democrats. Vote against the Republicans. They're the ones that are in power and are causing the problem. No, boy, if you believe that, I've got a pile of poop to sell you, and I'm going to call it caviar and filet mignon. Look, I don't think voters are going to be bamboozled, but we do have to get the word out to these voters in this election, because I've never seen polling so good for Republicans in California. It has been a long time since I've seen Latino voters hungry for change, independents, even conservative Democrats, ready to vote for anyone but the party in power. And that's why you're seeing dishonest op-eds like the LA Times, Steve Lopez op-ed that I'm slamming today. What you can do to help us, a couple things. Number one, chip in a contribution at reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. The election is literally underway, and we got to reach these voters and help our entire slate of endorsed candidates. Second, the Plain English Voter Guide helps voters understand what they're voting on and gives our endorsements for races all the way down to judge and school board and city council. So sign up for that Plain English Voter Guide on our website, first name, last name, email, zip code, and phone number. We will text you and email you the Plain English Voter Guide for your region. Also, you can get the Plain English Voter Guide online under Voter Guides under Voter Help. Finally, like and subscribe to this channel. 84% of you watching this video are not subscribed to the channel. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media by subscribing today so you get this show every day at 5 o'clock when we post a new episode. Until next time, don't believe the lies of the politicians and their friends at the liberal LA Times. Give some Republicans a little bit of a chance to change course of our state. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.